I'm not 100% sure if I mentioned this on this podcast already, but I recently got wrist surgery on my left wrist. It was an old injury from 7th grade or so, and I re-injured it doing front squats. And the way I heard it made it structurally impossible for me to bend it far enough to do a push-up. So I went to the doctor and explained what the situation was. I was a little surprised that I was contemplating doing surgery because I really didn't have any pain. And the issue was that I couldn't bend my wrist far enough to do some weird stuff like, a push-up or much less this Olympic lifting thing that I'm trying to get into now that I'm getting more into CrossFit. So he's a little hesitant to suggest that I go through with the surgery, but, for me, it's worth the risk, right? Because I think I can overcome the challenges presented in surgery physically. I know that mentally it's a little bit challenging. I'm not going to be able to work out during that time. My work proficiency, my work efficiency is going to decrease a little bit during the time that I'm recovering from surgery. But, I'm 33 and I want to be able to do this cool stuff. So it's worth it for me. Now, prior to making a decision going into surgery, I did a lot of contemplating, a lot of meditating, trying to ensure that I wasn't going to be a bit of a burden on myself, Chrissy, my wife, because, going through a surgery can be a little bit challenging. So I made a real point not to struggle through recovery. When I say that, I'm not talking about physically, I'm talking about mentally, right? Not to make it a woe is me, I can't go to the gym, I can't work out, I can't pick something up with my left hand, etc. And that preparation really, really helped me, okay? Now, getting through the surgery, it went very well. I never went above a 3 or out of 10 when it comes to pain. But the thing that I didn't plan well for was the fact that I'm in kind of the closing stages of writing this book. I'm doing the final pass through on the edit, Raising Capital for Real Estate. Very excited about it. The pre-sale is probably available right now. If you go to raisingcapitalforrealestate.com, you'll probably get access to some amazing goodies if I haven't already launched it yet. So here's the thing though. It requires a lot of wrist flexion to be able to type. And so the thing that I didn't really contemplate was this is going to really slow down the ability for you to review this final pass of the book. And it's crunch time. So I'm sitting here looking at my computer, really frustrated. I've got these thoughts in my head. I'm seeing little edits that I want to make. And I'm also not really thinking clearly because I'm on pain medication. I'm not anymore, but I was at the time. And so it's very frustrating. So I'm sitting here not thinking clearly, also having ideas in my head and just only being able to type with one hand, which is very slow, very inaccurate. It was kind of the low point of the recovery process. And during this time last week, when I was going through this, I was on about 4 podcasts interviews to promote the book, Raising Capital for Real Estate. I had blocked out pretty much my entire week to focus on either doing those podcasts or finalizing this edit. So I do these interviews, come back, sit at my desk, look at the computer, just see the time ticking down, knowing that I needed to finish up this final draft. And it was actually the moment when I was really struggling. But that is also when I had an interesting realization. So a lot of you have probably heard of Dr. Stephen Hawking, who is unquestionably one of the most influential physicists in the history of the world. You probably know where this is going. He wrote a book, wrote several books, but probably his most famous is A Brief History of Time, which sold about 10 million copies. Now, to put that in perspective, Nirvana's album, Nevermind, as in the one that they're known for, the one with the little kid on the front in the pool, yeah, that sold for about 10 million copies as well. This is a scientific book. The goal of the book was to make scientific theories like relativity, quantum mechanics, black holes, space-time digestible to people who didn't have a background in science. So the fact that they sold 10 million copies is unbelievable. So what's so special about this, and why does this tie into me struggling about my little issues about my left wrist? Because Dr. Stephen Hawking had a combination of a tracheotomy surgery and a motor neuron disease, which made him wheelchair bound for the latter part of his life, including the time during which he wrote A Brief History of Time. Not only was he wheelchair bound, he couldn't speak or even type. He had a personalized computer that was attached to his wheelchair, which allowed him to select words based on his eye movement. Now, the technology evolved to the point where he could write about 15 words per minute, but that's about a quarter the speed of like an average typer. So do you think there were some moments where he might have been a little frustrated with all the ideas that were in his head, trying to get them out, potentially change the world in terms of bringing the study of physics into the mainstream the way he did, pretty much like no one else. When I hear stories like that, that motivates me. And so if you're starting to feel like you're hitting those challenges and you're starting to feel like you're sinking down in the dumps, take an honest audit of your emotional state. And if you need to find those motivations, they're out there. Now, the reason I say take an honest audit of your emotional state is that sometimes that audit can be a little intimidating. You have to know what's good for your mental diet, right? So at the time, I was looking for that opportunity. I was looking for, where can I find someone where I can say, if he did it, I can do it. If they did it, I can do it. Now, sometimes you can feel like you don't need that. Sometimes you feel like I need to get through this on my own. So be cautious about that. Take that mental audit. But look, motivation is everywhere. People have overcome incredible things and went on to do amazing things. So just be mindful of that. Hope you guys have a great week. All right, listeners, you know the routine. This show is all about learning, making wise investments, and protecting and growing your capital. So if you're interested in these topics, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Of course, if you've already enjoyed a couple of great episodes, don't be shy. Leave a review. It really helps the show's visibility. And lastly, if you're an accredited investor and you're interested in learning more about our investment opportunities, the types of deals that I personally invest in, go to asymcapital.com. That's ASYMcapital.com. Thanks a lot.